Alright, back at the shop with the 67, as you can see right here in the video, and today I'm going to be replacing the transmission along with a couple other things. Transmission front brake pads, I'll be installing the wideband sensor and running a gauge inside the car so I can see the fuel air ratios. I'm going to be chasing down some more vacuum leaks and also replacing the main jets on the carburetor and some other small things. So let's see what we can get done today. I only have a couple hours. First thing I'm going to attack is going to be the transmission. So car's going up, wheels are going to come off also, and then I'm going to be pulling the transmission and installing the new T5 from Ford Racing. So stay tuned. Okay, so tires are coming off first so that I can replace these pads. What ends up happening is the company I ordered them through ended up sending me the wrong pads. They sent me the rear pads instead of the front pads. So tires go back on and pad change will happen at a later date. Okay, I just got the car up in the air and I started to notice that I was getting movement in the transmission when I was, accelerating, shifting between the gears. And I thought either I had broken a transmission mount or a motor mount, and I just looked at the motor mounts a couple days ago, so I didn't think it was the motor mount. I suspected the transmission mount, so I ordered a new transmission mount. But now that I've got the car up in the air, I see what really happened. And what has happened is the bolts for the transmission that hold the transmission to the bell housing are gone. One's missing there, one's missing there, and one more is missing. I don't know if you can see that. One more is missing up top. So the only one holding the transmission to the bell housing is that one right there. That's crazy. And good thing I'm replacing the transmission today. Okay, so first things first, before I start disconnecting anything on the car, I go ahead and disconnect the battery and get the car back up in the air, pull the drive shaft off, drain the transmission fluid out, and then we'll start pulling the parts and pieces off the transmission so that I can get the transmission out. There ends up being enough room for me to get the transmission out without fully disconnecting the exhaust. I end up just disconnecting it at the headers and then kind of sliding it back and making enough room to get the transmission out. Alright, as you can see now, the transmission's out of the car, and now I'm going to go ahead and work on pulling the flywheel, pulling the clutch off, gaining access to the throwout bearing and the pilot bearing and also the rear main seal. When I was contemplating this project, I wasn't sure exactly which parts and pieces I was going to be replacing. I debated on whether or not to replace the rear main seal, but when I got everything out, I saw there was a little bit of seepage, some oil coming out of the rear main seal, so I ended up replacing the rear main seal, the pilot bearing, the throwout bearing was still good, the clutch was still good, and so was the flywheel. The clutch and flywheel and all those components only have 3,000 miles on them, and they're pretty soft mileage. The car hasn't been on the track yet or anything like that, so everything looked like it was in pretty good working order. I did replace the flywheel bolts, and when I reinstalled everything, unlike when I did it the first time 9 years ago, I used Loctite on everything. So when I first installed the T5 in this car, I did not use Loctite, and as you can see, I paid the price. I did have locking washers on the transmission, but as you can see, this transmission's only held onto the bell housing by 4 bolts. So over the last 9 years, those bolts worked their way out, and 3 of the 4 over the last week of me pulling the car out of storage and driving it ended up falling out. Okay, so the second project I'm tackling is drilling the holes in the exhaust to install the wideband O2 sensors. Now what I had to do here is I had to get the angle right on the sensors so they didn't contact the transmission. I had to measure and drill in the right spot on the exhaust where I was going to have the clearance, and also a location where I could run the wires. The location I chose to run the wires back into the car was actually through the hole where the shifter goes through in the transmission tunnel. So I drill the holes, which ends up being a harder task than I expected just because of the limited working space. So I eventually get the right drill bit and once I get the correct drill bit, it makes it a lot easier. I get right through the exhaust, and then install the wideband O2 sensors, which will allow me to uh, make sure that I've got the carburetor set properly so that I'm running the right air-fuel ratios and getting the most power out of the car, but more importantly, also making sure that the car is tuned safely and the engine isn't going to fail on track because it's running too lean or something like that. Alright, so I apologize. You obviously missed the T5 going into the car. I blame Russ for that because he's not here to help me film and do the work at the same time. So it's Russ's fault. Anyways, the T5's in the car. Like I said, I got this T5 from Ford. I said Ford Racing before. It's now called Ford Performance. So this is the Ford Performance World Class T5. It's a little bit stronger. It's got some upgraded internals. So it's in the car. You know, like I talked about before, rear main seal was replaced, the pilot bearing was replaced, and then I reinstalled the flywheel, clutch, bell housing, also all the components for the hydraulic clutch that I converted this car to, and everything's going back together. After this, the drive shaft will be going back in. We'll put some oil in the transmission, and then we'll keep going with the O2 sensor install, and then we'll eventually, not in this video, but in a later video, we'll move to the inside of the car, and you can see how I wired the O2 sensor into the car. Okay, so quick fast forward. Like I said before, I blame Russ that you guys missed some of these clips, but car's back together, and now I've got a buddy in the car that's holding the camera for me so that I can get a look at the fuel-air ratios under wide open throttle and also partial throttle, and just kind of cruising around to see what the air-fuel ratios are looking like. As you can see in the video, I've only got one of the sensors installed. I've got some more wiring to do to finish off the other one, but for now I've just got bank 1 going, and you guys can see it in the video. Let me know what you think about the air-fuel ratios, if you think we're too lean, too rich. I think we're just a tad too lean, so looks like we're going to be installing some new jets in the car. Alright, so what we're going to do a pull through second, third, and fourth, and I'm going to watch the air-fuel ratio. We're going to record it, then we're going to upload it so you guys can see and let us know what you think. If the car's running too lean, too rich. I think it's a little bit too lean now. I'm seeing in the 13s, so here we go. Alright, here's second gear. Under load, it dips into the 11s. So right now I'm at neutral throttle, I'm at 2800 RPM, and when I start to dip into the throttle, it dropped down to 12.2. That's around 3000 RPM. Alright guys, I want to keep this video short. I say that even though it's not a short video. This is Adam from Russ and Adam's Garage, and a quick recap on what we did with the car. Big things are, number one, pulled the transmission out. That junky eBay transmission is done. Installed the new world-class T5 from Ford Performance. Huge upgrade, better gear ratios, better transmission. It just makes the car like a whole new car, and I really enjoy driving it now. So new transmission. Installed the wideband sensors, drilled the hole in the exhaust, and ran the wiring for that. Only got bank 1 done, but bank 2 will be done in a later video. I'm not sure if I'm going to show you that, but bank 2 does get done on the car. Also, I did some troubleshooting on the pinion angle. It's been my Achilles heel with this car. I'll talk about that later. But essentially, we got the car back on the road and one step closer to getting it on the track and getting it track ready. So thanks again for watching. Please comment. Let me know what you think about the air-fuel ratios. I am going to be changing the jets because I think it's a little bit too lean. What I'm looking for is the 12.5 to 13 to 1 at wide open throttle. So thanks again for watching. Let me know what you think. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.